What is poppin', everybody? I think this is episode 3 or 4 now. I don't know. I don't keep track. Of your midweek high vibe conversations with Drew Mack and Kerry Lewis. And I am super excited to be energetic funkiness going on with me and technical difficulties with Drew. So I feel like it's just the universe saying, go with the flow, baby, go with the flow. So how you doing, Drew?
It's the only way to go.
It really is. It's the only way to go. So how you doing?
Good, man. Good. I'm awesome.
I I love that.
Had to reboot the phone and try to figure out how to get on here, but hey, whatever.
I mean, we're here. I'm super excited to have a good conversation. And yeah, so let's get the party started. So what are you thinking for today? Got anything that comes to mind?
I got a story to share that the importance of being in flow and asking questions. And it happened on Saturday night. So one of the things that I do for people that don't know me well at all, I drive a pedicab. Most people call them rickshaws. It's an electrified bike, tricycle, it's got a cab, 2 seats on it, or a big bench seat rather. But we've also got trailers behind some of them, and I've got a trailer. And about a year ago, I because I'm an energy guy, right? So I designed an energy activation trailer without going into a lot of details, but there's 4 trailers in the fleet to date, and my trailers hold comfortably about 8 people, and then there's 2 bigger trailers that hold pretty comfortably about 12 to 15 people, and the owner bought a new trailer and is in the process of putting it together, or actually built a new trailer. And he came to me a couple weeks ago and said, hey, do you want to take over one of the other bigger trailers, because the other one of the guys is going to get the new one? And I went, I don't know. I wasn't sure. I've got mine all set up, right? I've got all the energy in it. I wasn't really sure if I wanted to go through. The other reason is that trailer's been driven for like 4 or 5 years. It's been patched together, and I would have to do a lot of work on it. Blah 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 blah. I wasn't sure, so I asked going into the weekend, do I need to upgrade? Do I want to upgrade to the next trailer? And on Saturday night, it was slow. I mean, I almost went home. It was so slow. But something said, stay out here, stay out here. And at the end of the night, I got my confirmation, because all of a sudden I was getting phone calls from people that I haven't seen in a long time. And my trailer was full for the rest of the night. And it was overflowing with customers and clients. And I was like, yeah, okay, thanks, universe. I need the bigger trailer. So I'm going to go through all the work to get the new trailer activated.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, isn't that the way the universe provides us with symbols and signs all the time? And I would encourage our audience to start to really just observe what it is you're experiencing. For instance, yesterday and today, I've seen nothing but dragonflies, and that's not common. Like, I don't see dragonflies like that. And I sat and I just kind of sat in the space of a dragonfly. And then I shared with you, I'm trying to get my daughter to an appointment I didn't know that she had prior to jumping on to our show. And so I'm driving there, and my daughter's like, what's wrong? I'm like, my energy's funky. I'm a little stressed. I'm just working through it. I'm working through it. So I get her there, and I'm coming back, and I look over, and there's a dragonfly on the wall. I'm like, okay, it's all good. I just needed to be reminded that everything's perfectly in order, just the way it needs to be. And I don't need to control the situation. It will unfold the way it's supposed to. So, yeah, so I love that so much.
Yeah, I mean that's a perfect example, right? You get into that state where you're flowing well, you're feeling good, right? That's a big indicator.
Yep.
What's your emotion frequencies like? And then it's all about focus from there. So you could have gone down the road of, I gotta rush, 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 and that just brings more rushing. You're never going to catch up, right? You
Yeah.
just calm down, said, wait a minute, what are the signs? Okay. And most people, a problem comes up and they think they got to wrestle it to the ground and kill it, right? It's like, I got to wrestle that problem down, and I got to find the solution, and I got to kill that problem. Well, you're just going to get more of the problem because that's what you're focusing on, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that because earlier I had called one of my clients to change the time that we meet to another day so that I could support a client who is in crisis today. Um, and the client I called was highly stressed at the time, and she and somebody she loves were involved in trying to figure out something technical. And I was like, well, that's just the universe telling you to step back, take a pause, let's have a conversation for a couple minutes, breathe, reset, make food, and then go back to it. And you're going to be back to it with a different energy, a less stressed energy.
Yeah.
And so, again, there are signs all the time if we know how to discern. But you shared this story, and something that came up for me as I was driving back. Was we've talked about activating flow state and your practice in the morning and then throughout the day getting yourself to stay in that flow state. I, like you, have a practice in the morning, and I can get myself back into flow state, or flow state, relatively fast and often, but there are times where it takes more effort. And that's what I want to talk about because so 90% of the time, right, if I feel a thought or an emotion that is going to cause me to start to spin or start to cultivate negative energy, conscious breathing does it all the time. Conscious breathing. But there are circumstances, particularly around something I need to still work out, right? Like an old belief that is, I still need to peel away, or whatever it is that I need to process, where it's harder for me to get back into flow state. And so, for me, I'll do conscious breathing, and that may not work, and so then I'll put on Native American music and dance because that will help me. And even that, it might release it a little bit, so maybe I'll go take a salt shower, right? Or whatever the case is. And so I think for me and where I'm at, right, it's not always as easy as just, oh, I can think a different thought. And I think that's important to highlight for our community because while there's different levels, and just like working out, learning a new language, whatever you're trying to learn, as you're learning to shift that into higher states of consciousness, not everybody's equal. So where Drew may be able to be like, oh, yeah, no, I don't want that, and immediately come back, that's not going to happen for everybody all the time. It certainly doesn't happen for me. What I do is I don't stop trying things until I come back to that state, because I know that if I let myself stop, then I'm just going to cycle into negative energy and I'm going to feel crappy. And who wants to feel crappy?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just do something to try to break that cycle, right? Just to shift your focus somewhere, whatever works for you. I also I use during the day. I have an Insight Timer. It's a free app,
Yep,
and I
I
don't
have
necessarily
it.
not necessarily break a cycle, but there's certain frequencies I like to listen to when I do my own stuff. I've got 10 minutes and I just want to chill, right? I've got certain frequencies I'll put on that I just want to get into these frequencies and focus on that. So that helps to break cycles too. Yeah. So anything that you can do to just sort of consciously take your attention or your focus away from whatever spiraling, towards negative or lower frequency energies, whatever it is you can do, keep doing them, right? And
Yeah,
most people just, first of all, they're not aware that they can do it. I mean,
that's true.
that's the big thing. The awareness, creating the awareness that you have this ability, and everyone does. That's the number one thing, just being aware of it. It's so funny. I had I out of the blue on Friday, I was driving through the nothing comes out of the blue, but most people can relate to it, so I'll say it that way. I'm just driving through this place called the Diag campus, and I have signs on my car that talk about flow state, or on my car, on my trailer. And this gal just stops dead and said, "Wait a minute," pointed at the signs. "I need to know more about that flow state stuff," because she had just read, or was in the process of reading, a book you and I know about called Stealing Fire.
Yep.
So she's in the process, and then she went, "Wait, what? We need to talk about this." So I ended up talking to her for about an hour, and it was really funny because later that day, or maybe the next morning, it was the next morning, she sent me a video from that I had not seen, from Dr. Joe Dispenza, about the power that we have over our bodies when we can activate and focus on these higher emotional energies. And he went through the physiology from a scientific perspective of what happens to your body when you're able to get into these elevated states of consciousness. And I had not seen it before. And it was like, okay, there's scientific evidence of what we just talked about. And it was so funny. I just met this gal and she sends it to me. So it's like,
Well, I mean, think about it. And it's I'm gonna even circle back and highlight something else. You and I talked the other day and you shared that story. Yesterday I jumped on a call with somebody I had not ever talked to before, and he shares Joe Dispenza. And then one of my best friends jumps in my message this morning and she's like, "I know you speak so highly about Joe Dispenza." And I just had to laugh because I'm like, well, if that ain't synchronistic, I don't know what is, because I read his stuff a while ago. Like, so, but so it's not on the forefront of my mind, but because you brought it up, it's in my energy field. And now everything's Joe Dispenza. And I was like, oh my God, this is hilarious. Much like the dragonfly. But going back to, you said that most people aren't aware. That's true. But I also find that when people start to become aware, right? Um, they start to practice a technique, and then, like me, they'll have a situation where they try this technique, it doesn't work, and instead of continuing to go on and try new things, they just give up. And that's what I really want to encourage people is, Drew said it perfectly. He's like, it doesn't matter what you do, it really doesn't. How Drew gets into flow state could be entirely different than how I get into flow state, right? But the important piece to continue to keep in mind is that don't stop trying things until you feel better, right? If you feel good, you're doing good. If you feel icky, keep doing the work. And it's as simple as that, right? Because then you experience, again, if you're feeling icky, really good example. As I'm getting my daughter into the truck to go to the appointment, I'm feeling energetically stressed. All of a sudden, the truck starts to sputter. And I guarantee it was a result of my stress energy, because I had created the stress. I wasn't able to diffuse it or neutralize it. And so and that's why it's incredibly important to just stick to it until you find peace or come back to joy. Because when you do that, now you're going to attract the dragonfly on the wall rather than the car stalling out mid drive, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. And, you know, that's a really good point. Our emotions are indicators of where we're operating.
Yep.
They are. They're just, so they're not good or bad, right? If you really break it down, they're not good or bad. They're just indicators. And now it takes a little practice to understand and get into that. Because what you and I talk about, we just mentioned this the other day, what you and I talk about, words can't teach, right?
Yeah,
It's
no.
all from experience. You
Yep.
have to experience it for yourself. Until you do that, it's not something you can 100% relate to, which is why I love to share the story about the radio, your radio receiver in your car. Think of yourself that way, right? So if I want to listen to a certain frequency, I just in the old days, you tune your tuner to whatever frequency you wanted to bring in. Now, how do I know I can do that? Well, there's hundreds of radio frequencies out there bouncing around. I can't see them, I can't taste them, I can't touch them, I can't smell them, and I can't hear them. But I absolutely 100% know that they're there. So I'm really confident that if I tune that tuner to 107.1 FM, I'm going to receive that signal. And it's the same thing here. You just, it just takes practice, and the more you do it, the better you get at it. And the better you get at it, the more you know it. And once
Yeah.
you really know it, then it really becomes a little easier, right?
Yeah.
And it gets better and better and better and better.
And so, what you said is spot on. And for anybody who doesn't know, not only have I studied like the science, right? Because I love to nerd out on like the neurosciences and the quantum physics and all that, but I've gone deep into theologies, all different things from the Bhagavad Gita, Tao Te Ching, some of the Quran. But what you just said is written throughout the literature of A Course in Miracles. It straight out tells you, I am not here to tell you anything, but I am here to remind you to do the practice, because in doing the practice, you will experience for yourself the results of doing the work, right? Because for anybody who doesn't know, Course in Miracles has a 365-day workbook where you work through a lesson each day. I've read the book 150 times, if not more. It's between that and Lao Tzu's work, it's probably the most prolific work in my life. Although I like works from other theologies as well, but again, even in the Tao Te Ching, they talk a lot about flow state. It talks a lot about surrendering, not trying to control. And in doing that, you'll have the fruits of your labor. And what that means is when you're not trying to control, it all comes to you, And I'll give you a really good example. Yesterday, I was thinking of a dear friend of mine. She just did this conference and stuff. And I thought about calling her, but I'm like, I'm not going to call her. She's going to call me. And as I'm sitting eating my peach and cottage cheese today, looking at the dragonfly, she drops in my phone. And so those are the experiences you will have if you just trust the process, and it's a practice. And, again, that's why I'm constantly reinforcing the narrative that it's a practice, because you don't just get to a place where Drew is overnight, or where I am overnight. I've been doing this since I was 14. I'm 44, and I still just shared with you I had a hard time getting back into flow. It took me a good half hour. So just know that it's worth the effort, and the proof is in the pudding. You don't have to believe anything Drew and I say. In fact, I don't want you to. Never take my word. Just go out and try it. And then the experiences will show you that what we're saying is grounded in not only scientific evidence, but your personal experiences.
Yeah, and it's where we came in. I had a conversation with one of my clients Monday night. Actually, it was our last coaching session, because she's got it. She doesn't need me anymore, right? And I told her that. I was like, you're done. Now it's up to you to keep going wherever you're going to go. You don't need my help.
Without you telling me who that is, I think I know who that is.
You
But
probably
anyway, go ahead.
You probably do. So anyway, yeah, I mean, what we were talking about? Sorry, you just threw me for a loop. You were talking about
Doing the work.
oh, doing the work. Yeah. So yeah, that's why she got to that point. And I told her, I said, congratulations, you did the work. I didn't do anything, right? Now, the one thing that we do, you and I can do, and everyone else can do it too, is provide an environment where people can experience what it feels like. Because believe it or not, you're emanating an energy field all the time. You've got energy flowing through you all the time. It's all around you. It goes out feet, if not longer, because when you get really good at it, you can make it go out farther. And it's called a torus-based energy field. the Heart Mind Institute, has studied this. I mean,
Yep.
your heart has an energy, and that emotion that you're experiencing has a frequency and energy as well. And that's what you're putting out, and not only putting it out, you're bringing it in as well. So the more you put out really good energy, the more you're going to bring in really good energy because of law of attraction. But also you can provide an environment for people to feel good. Everyone's had the experience, right? So everyone has been in a room when somebody walks in and all of a sudden the air just got lighter, like the room just lightened up, or a whole bunch of people went, "Oh, look who's here!" Right? The energy shifts because that person knows how to manage their energy.
Well,
Um,
but
that's
I'm actually going to jump in though, because I also have had the experience. The, there are people who are so um disassociated from themselves,
oh yeah,
literally, that people like you and I, they have a negative reaction, and not
yeah,
because, but because our our frequencies are so far from each other that they can't even register. It makes them uncomfortable. And it's funny because I am working with two clients who both are just they have such dissociation from their own body, right, that they have a really hard time even tapping into that energy. So it's getting them to tap into that and then do the work, because you have to be like, if you can't identify or feel how your body's responding or how your emotions are responding to your external, then that's what we have to work on first. But you're absolutely right. You and I can provide a flow state, like not a flow state, but our energies are joyful. So people tend to be attracted to us. And then we can offer that loving energy to them. But also, I would say, also know that there are people in the world who will have a visceral negative reaction to
oh yeah,
that. And it's not that you did anything wrong. It's not that they did anything wrong. It's just that your energies just right now are very far apart.
yeah, for sure. And it's the same principle as you walk into a room, you don't really know anybody, and all of a sudden you just go there, that person right there. I'm going to talk to that person, and you
Yep.
just know it, right? And the reason is because you're operating on the same frequency. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. Yeah, and it's why I put this. By the way, I put this energy activation table in my trailer. I activated
Which
that.
you're gonna do an activation for me, right, next week live, so that
Yes.
way anybody tuning in or watching this replay, here's what I think would be amazing is if Drew does it on me, I can share my experience. But more than that, you guys have an opportunity to kind of see what you would experience if you reach out to Drew, and that way it doesn't feel so foreign, because I know some people are like, if I don't know what I'm getting into, I'm not gonna touch it. But I'm interested, but I'm not really sure, so I'm gonna just stay back.
Yeah, that's why I built the table, is so that people can have an experience of what it feels like to be operating in these what scientists refer to as elevated states of consciousness. Um, yeah, that's why I built the table, and it's why I put it in the trailer, because the trailer's made of metal, and the metal is a conduit, and so that whole trailer is an environment, a high vibe environment, and I've literally seen people get in that environment without knowing they're in it, right? They just get in the trailer, then they're in a really low vibe state. And if they're in there for 5 to 8 to 10 minutes, everything shifts
Yep.
because their inner being, they're in where they're originally from, right? Their source is stronger than their actual emotion, their brain, because it's our whole body that's getting involved in this process. And that energy will just rise because that's where it wants to operate. That's where you want to operate. And so, providing environments like that and or experiences like that, that's what I love to do because, again, words can't teach it. So yeah, next week, and not only will they'll actually be able to have an experience,
Yeah.
because if you just follow along with us, energy's limitless. I'm not just going to do it with Carrie. It's
Yeah.
with everybody that's here or anybody watching the replay of it. If they'll participate, allow themselves to participate, they will experience what it feels like to operate in a higher, elevated state of consciousness.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, big time.
You and me both. And so, with that, guys, we're going to wrap up early today because that's the way the universe wants things to unfold for us. So, until next week, I think it's a perfect way to end because now we're going to leave. It's a cliffhanger. Now, y'all's got to turn into next week. Until next week, my words of wisdom are: be kind to yourself. Just choose kindness for yourself, because when you choose kindness for yourself, you're really truly operating at a higher level of consciousness and things feel a little bit easier. So,
yeah, and another thing to be consciously aware of as you're moving through your day and moving through your life, smile. Make eye contact with people and smile and see what happens. Just just play with it, right? Just go, I'm going to consciously smile at people, even if they don't smile back. It doesn't matter. And watch what happens.
I'm going to leave you guys with this, and I'm going to sign off with this story. This morning, I'm in the middle of a leg day. I'm in a 12-week hypertrophy training, which means my legs are sore every single day. So today I'm in this single leg, whatever. It's awful. And I said to myself, I'm just going to smile. Instead of look miserable, I'm going to smile. And I banged out those last 4 reps as tough as they felt physically. I enjoyed it because I was smiling through it. And so that is the power of your smile.
Absolutely.
Until